Hello, welcome to the 2Noahs podcast. I'm Noah Bunde, and here with me is my co-host and partner in crime, Noah Doman.
Hi.
So this is our first episode, and we hope you're just as excited about it as we are. Maybe you've already listened to our trailer, and in case you didn't, here's the takeaway. We're 2Noahs, we're friends, and we're living together, and we are here to talk to some of our more creative friends to figure out how they found their passion and turned their creative side gigs or passions into professions. Does that sound right?
Yeah, you wrote it, so I think it sounds right.
Good.
People might be wondering about our podcast photo.
Oh, the cover art.
Yeah. We actually we spent some time in Italy, right? For my Thanksgiving.
Yeah, my Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, it was both of our Thanksgiving. Yeah. It was a nice Thanksgiving.
It was great. Yeah, no turkey though.
No turkey, but Italy.
But Italy.
Yeah, I think we just drank a ton of espresso the whole time.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of caffeine, and it was good. Everywhere we went, the coffee was amazing. Mm-hmm. Best coffee I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, Italy. It's the water. I don't know anything about coffee.
I don't know anything about Italy.
I just like putting it in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do that, and it goes well, and it makes me energetic
and anxious.
Our anxiety.
Our collective anxiety.
We've been living long enough now that Noah and I, we have our anxiety. We don't call it my anxiety anymore.
Yeah, we've been living together now for a month.
No, 2 months.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 2 months. It's been going well.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not going well, we talk to our flat share therapist.
Yeah, who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Italy was great. Great food, great people. I had the best time. It was a culinary awakening of sorts.
Yeah, and we went to quite a few cities for only being there for 4 or 5 days.
Oh yeah, we went city hopping. We had a rental car. And we went from city to city. It was great.
Do you have a favorite city?
I have to say I really liked Florence. Mm-hmm. Though we had some weird experiences. Like we wanted to get into the art museum. Yeah. And the second we queued up and wanted to go in, they told us it's closed now.
Yeah.
And then we went, it was Black Friday week, or as the Italians call it, Black Week, which they should not, but they do.
Or free day. I like free day.
Yeah.
That's a clever thing that I don't think English speakers would have maybe thought of.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we went to get some shoes. Noah didn't get shoes. I got shoes. But after we went to the shoe store, we wanted to go to the church, to like the big, what is it, like a cathedral?
Yeah, Duomo.
Yeah, exactly. And it was beautiful from the outside. And the second we queued up, the man in front of us closed the gate and was like, no, it's closed for today. So that was Florence, or as they call it, Firenze.
Yeah, Firenze.
Loved it. Very beautiful. It rained all the time. I loved it.
Yeah, and but we also went to some small towns, right?
Lucca.
Yeah, Lucca. Lucca's really... Siena.
Oui. That's French for yes.
But actually, funny enough, Lucca, which is a small town that still has its original wall, because I would read the entire Wikipedia article of the towns we went to right before we got there. Very pretty Tuscan town. You know who lived there for a summer?
No. Peter Gabriel?
Not Peter Gabriel.
Sting?
Probably Sting has been there. But no, our lovely first guest, David Gabriel.
So it's time for our guest, David Gabriel. David went to school with Noah.
With me.
Noah Doman. He's originally from Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
He now lives in Los Angeles, the city of angels.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That is true. That's true. That is where that's where he's calling from.
Just fact. He's calling in from Los Angeles. We're first episode already international.
Yeah.
How great is that?
International podcast.
And David is a writer on TV shows, as far as I know.
That's what he's aspiring.
Oh, so what is he doing right now?
He's right. Yeah, let's find out.
Let's get him on.
Yeah.
Well, hi, David.
Yeah, hi, welcome.
Hi, Noah. How should I refer to you? Have you guys figured out yet how people should refer to you?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was on a walk the other day, and I was thinking about this. When people say Noah, our interviewees, we don't have a way to know which Noah it is. So
You don't have a way?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Noah D, and you're Noah B. Yeah.
D and B are kind of...
I know.
Can one
so
of you
very
change your
similar.
last names for the purposes of the podcast?
Well, Noah Bunde.
I should change my name for the podcast.
Yeah. No. Oh, did you say change our names?
Yeah, that's
legally.
exactly what I said. Legally change your name for the podcast.
I've already been through it. Like, Noah's not my real name.
Wait, are we opening with that?
No.
Oh no.
We shouldn't.
Well, let's not talk. Mystery.
Mystery.
Yeah,
Is
thank
that
you
the
for being on,
season-long
David.
mystery? That's the narrative arc of the season?
Yeah, that.
You're such a writer.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you so much for coming on and being our first guest.
Am I your first guest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Technically.
God.
We practiced our we had our first guest, Derek, who you know.
Uh-huh.
And but his is coming later chronologically.
Because there's an arc in our recordings.
Yeah.
We do have an arc.
A narrative arc.
A narrative arc.
Yeah.
Yes.
I knew it. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be the first guest, and thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, HelloFresh.
Thanks, HelloFresh. Shout out HelloFresh. Great food, great products. So how do you and Noah D know each other?
Well, in sophomore year of high school, I guess it was.
Yeah, it was sophomore.
We were both at the same high school. I wore Jordans, and Noah wore, construction boots, and said he was going to join the army.
Yep.
And
For real,
and we
I didn't know
clicked.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We hit it off. And I was like, I don't know, but then we hit it off. The thing was, we were two of the only Jewish kids in the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first it was like, is there room for two? And then it was like, there's community in two,
Great companionship.
Yeah.
And then I feel like over the last couple of years of high school, we both just like, I think there was a lot of change in our lives, and also just a lot of growth and coming into who we were, and Noah not joining the army, and me, doing different stuff with my life. And I feel like we were with each other through that, and then have remained friends since.
Yeah. But the Jew thing isn't the only thing we have in common.
What else? Oh yeah. So yeah, we found out that I went to Costa Rica in my 7th grade year. I'd been going since I was a kid, and lived with a host family there, which was obviously the thing that I could say in any room and people would be like, whoa, that's super interesting. I told Noah, and he was like, oh yeah, I did the exact same thing.
But in Mexico, right?
Yeah. Which kind of defines us too. We've talked about this, how it makes sense he went to Costa Rica and I went to Mexico.
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The whole army thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole not army thing. But we both ended up not being army things.
Yeah.
You say yeah?
Time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's always a high demand. So shout out to the army.
Yeah.
Always looking for people.
Yeah. We do shout outs to small creators here, David. So
Like the U.S. Army.
The Army,
Yeah.
HelloFresh.
yeah.
Not that HelloFresh is in any way associated with the military.
No.
Or us.
Or us.
Or
but-
us. But man, they make a hell of a product.
Yeah. Have you ever ordered from HelloFresh?
No. But
I know people that did it too, and they liked it.
yeah, I know people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
people
people.
love it. It's easy. You know people?
I know people.
Cool.
Some people.
Some people, not all of them, but some.
By the way, David, so I remember when we became friends, you were already kind of on that writing path. Mm-hmm. You let me star in your high school film.
In my just awful high school film.
Aren't they always?
It was called The Intellectualist.
Oh, the
That's
spite
what
of
it's
man.
called. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You've seen it?
But I was wondering where did it all begin? Like when did you realize you were like, oh, I want to write?
It's an interesting question. So my mom tells me, so when I was 3 years old and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out in theaters, my mom took me to see it and literally whispered the subtitles in my ear at 3 years old. And then as soon as we left, I was like, Mom, we have to see it again. Like, I just became obsessed. And then throughout my life, I think I was really obsessed with storytelling. And I think even just like it's like language has always been something I feel like good at. And then storytelling has just been something that's always affected me a lot. But I mean, by the time I was like 10 or 11, I was asking for like Leonard Maltin's movie review guide for Hanukkah. You know, it was like, that was what I wanted. And I would just like sit and read like these kind of like stodgy film reviews. And so I think, I mean, the earliest memory I have of actually writing was like when I was in elementary school. I remember we had an assignment to write our version of Jack and the Beanstalk. And I wrote literally 27 pages. Wow. And wrote it in. And yeah, so I mean, I think it's always been something that I have really enjoyed doing. And I think like it took longer to decide what the medium was than to decide that it was something I liked to do. Also, it took longer to decide that it was something I wanted to do for a career. Obviously, like that's a whole other leap, you know?
So are there any projects you're currently working on or you worked on in the past that you would be able to talk about?
There are some things happening right now that I don't think I can talk about, but...
That's always cool. That's so cool. We're talking to a writer from LA who might or might not be working on a Netflix, CBS, Universal, or whatever network show it is. Might
Amazon,
or might not be.
Actually. It's really? Actually Amazon, yeah.
Fuck.
My boss has an overall deal at Amazon, so I'm helping him with development on current Amazon series and also have a couple of my own that I'm kind of kicking around.
Wow, great.
But let me think of stuff in the past. Well, the stuff that I've done most recently I can talk about, I wrote 2 plays over the past couple of years, which like I think when I was really learning about craft, like learning about writing, I think playwriting actually was the most natural starting point, because I think a lot of TV writers start out as playwrights. Intellectually, I think playwriting and TV writing are kind of simpatico. You know, I think that they have a lot in common. So I wrote, I guess the most recent thing I worked on that I can talk about was I wrote a play set in New York in the 50s in an apartment building about like a black family and a Jewish family. Not even really necessarily about the relationship between the two, but just about the differing experiences and the kind of power dynamics between the two in this like hyper-specific time in the country's history.
That's really exciting. It sounds very interesting. Have you ever lived in New York?
Sort of. I went to school in upstate New York in the Hudson Valley, and there was a kind of 6-month stretch where I had a couple film internships in New York City. So there was kind of like a 6-month period, I would say, where I was in New York at least half the time.
Because like every time I see movies that showcase New York or where they're set in New York, it always makes me want to go there so bad. I don't know what it is about New York, but it really has a grip on me. I don't know.
For me personally, I actually stayed with David in New York for a couple of days. I don't know if I'm a New York person. I don't know what that means either.
The thing is, I definitely am not. Like because I was in this, I was living with, in a friend's basement apartment. We're Noah State, actually. They have like a brownstone on the Brooklyn Promenade, and I was staying in their basement apartment rent-free, and like there was a washer and dryer in the unit, and it was like incredible, and it was the kind of place that I would never be able to live in, probably for like 30 years, but like even being there for that amount of time, I was still kind of like, I don't love it here.
Now, you were mentioning before, talking about playwriting and TV writing kind of being intertwined. I mean, I feel like for most people, they would think they're 2 completely different mediums. I mean, not completely different, but pretty different.
Totally.
So what connects them?
Well, okay, there's a couple things. The first thing is the history of TV shows, right? The early sitcoms and even contemporary sitcoms with live studio audiences. The reason why when you watch a sitcom it's not supposed to feel like reality is because they started out essentially as filmed plays, you know? And so they depend on audience engagement, audience interaction. That's a kind of historical thing about sitcoms and plays. And so even, you know, like I watched a documentary which is a great documentary called Exporting Raymond, where the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond goes to Russia to try and adapt Everybody Loves Raymond and runs into all these different cultural... It's so funny. But it kind of unlocked something for me when I saw that he was talking about how the tenets of sitcom writing are playwriting. It's like... But I think so that's a historical thing. In an abstract sense, and kind of what I'm talking about is, in a movie, it's usually, unless it's a franchise, whatever, it's a one-time thing. You can present your take on the world however you want to present it, right? You can have something like Christopher Nolan, like Dunkirk, where it's about a kind of tapestry of a world and the characters aren't even... they're not the forefront, right? It's like not the interiority of the characters, it's like the event and the thing. Or you could have something like, like a John Cassavetes movie where it's all about the characters. It's like deeply inside the minds of the characters and the improvisation and whatever. TV, like plays, it is kind of only about the characters because... in a play, the way that you have to write it when you're thinking of it is not for a specific actor to inhabit the performance. It's for as many actors as possible, for as long of a time as possible, to be able to take the characters and make them their own. And so I think there's a huge focus on character and on behavior and on kind of like propulsive drive forward. And I think the same is true for TV. Even though it is inhabited by one actor, it's like the idea that you're creating a world and you're creating characters that can live on for a really long time. And then I think in another sense, I think it's that idea of like a play has to be really spare because it's only a set and dialogue. And so the motivations and behaviors have to be really, really clear. Even if they're not realistic, they have to have their own internal logic or else the thing falls apart, you know? And I think that's true with TV too. Like there's one of my favorite books that has been applicable to TV writing, but is actually a playwriting book. It's called Backwards and Forwards. And the premise of the book is essentially like Shakespeare. You can read Shakespeare backwards and forwards and it still has the same narrative continuity because it's a kind of like there's a rigorous cause-effect relationship between like throughout the story where the first cause triggers an effect that then becomes a cause for another effect, you know? So that's kind of my thinking around it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Also makes me realize how terrible Dunkirk would be as a TV series.
Yeah, totally. Because it's like, why do you care, you know?
Yeah, sure.
You don't care about any of the people. You care about all of them together, but it's like you need to there needs to be a dramatic take that can last for a really long time, which is so hard to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say you were a drama kid in school?
Not at all. No. I maybe was when I was like 6 or 7. I was in one play and I was in like Treasure Island and I had one line in it, but I was not a drama kid in school. I didn't write my first play until college, which was interesting because pretty much everyone
at that point probably
I was in the class. Yeah, they were already into it, which I think I kind of like that, right? Because I have a different approach to it and not I'm not coming out of like being obsessed with Sondheim R.I.P. You know, like I'm not like coming out of being like,
thank you.
like I wanna live. You know, it's like more like I feel like I kind of have a more film approach to writing plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have acted.
I have.
Yeah,
it's true.
I've liked the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah, I did. Well, I acted in one thing in college. I was randomly like the lead in a short film, which was fun and strange.
Yeah, you were really
I'm glad
good.
I had the experience. Thank you. Yeah.
Would you like to do more of that or no?
I don't know. I think I would never really seek it out because the life of it is just too brutal. I mean, I've like met a lot of people here who that's what they want to do, and it's just tough. I mean, it's tough to like, even at the point where you're successful in it, which is gargantuan, like you walk into a room and it's like everyone looks like you and you have to be the best version of yourself. You know, it's like a really strange proposition, you know? So no, I don't think I would pursue it, but I've always told the person who directed me in the film, like that if she ever wanted to do more stuff, I'd be down because it was just fun, you know?
Do you have an artist name? Because your name is pretty hard to find on Google. Like the SEO is horrible. I put in David Gabriel to do the journalistic research we like to do here at 2Noahs.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard to find you.
I don't. I'm kind of low key. I think like at least right now, before I have any credits, I'm just kind of working under the radar a little bit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a website or anything like that. I think David Gabriel is a good.
It's a good
writer. It's a great name.
It's
yeah.
a good writer's name. I think it's melodious.
Oh, it's great.
I wouldn't change it.
I can already see it on a book cover.
Thank you. Yeah.
You have to start smoking though.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. E-cigarettes.
You know, you have a lovely girlfriend, Tika.
This is true.
Yeah, she's great. She's phenomenal. And you know, I've heard her call you the king of cold calls or cold emails. And could you talk a bit about that? Because I think so many people find it really difficult to send these things. I have a lot of shame. Do you have a lot of shame, Noah?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
I'm sending too many emails every day to care.
The way to do it.
Yeah, but your story leaving college, I think, is super great. Could you talk about that a bit?
Sure. Yeah. So I feel like this was even true in high school. Like I didn't tell you about it when I was doing it because I never got any responses, but I would just scour the internet to try and find whoever's email I could find. And the key, I think, to cold emailing, you know, I think a lot of people have, like a literary manager came to school when I was still at school and gave a talk back to a bunch of students. And one of the things he said was like, just don't cold email. It doesn't do anything. And when I was working in an internship in New York City, I was managing the like general info at email, and I would get 40 unsolicited emails a day, and they just told us, you know, don't even look at it, just put it in the trash. And so I think there's a lot of, you know, I think people are apprehensive, and I also think it's like a kind of a hopeless thing. But in college, I kind of, from late high school to early college, I just kind of was like, I'm just going to do this because I didn't really love going to parties and whatever. So during the weekends, I would just like send probably 25 to 50 personalized.
Sounds so much
That's
fun.
the key. Personalized cold emails. I would have a kind of general template, but if I found someone's email, I would make sure to include something personal about why I liked what they did, and not just a kind of, here's why you should hire me. And I probably sent hundreds, and I only ever got in college 2 responses. But the thing about the 2 responses was one was this company, Oscilloscope Laboratories, which was the first film internship I had. And the other was these guys, Mark Olson and Will Sheffer, who they're a married duo. They're also writing partners. and they wrote and created the show Big Love on HBO and the show Getting On HBO, and they're just like the best. And so I had just finished, it was actually, see, this is the weird thing, is like how random everything can be. The only time in college while I was at school that I got drunk, the entire time I was at school, I got wine drunk with my roommate, and we scrolled down Netflix, like just released and just scrolled as far, whatever, and then clicked the first random thing we saw. And it was this show called The Night Shift, which is this like NBC soap medical drama that's like so crazy. I mean, I can't emphasize how crazy it is. And we started watching this show that was like 6 pages down on Netflix. And we were like a little wine drunk, and we were like, you know what we should do? We should just have a medical pilots night. We watched the pilots of all the medical TV shows we can think of, right? Scrubs, Nurse Jackie,
shout out
The Night
Scrubs.
Shift. Shout out Scrubs. And we ended up watching Getting On, which I had seen a couple years earlier when I was in high school, but I kind of watched the whole show in one day, and then like, it's only 18 episodes. So I watched the whole show in one day and then just kind of forgot about it. And we started watching, and out of all of those, I mean, you know, Scrubs is great, Nurse Jackie's great, but Getting On, we were like, oh my God, the show is so good. Like unreal good, like hidden gem. I can't believe no one is talking about this good. Mm-hmm. And so that was the one that stuck, and we kept watching it, and we finished it, and I looked up, as part of the cold email protocol, I looked up the creators, and I found that their little production company, Shingle, had a website, and they had an info at email. And so I sent a whole email to them, basically saying something to the gist of like why I liked this show, right? I said that the show was like it was the most precarious comedy I ever seen, because it's set at a geriatric ward of a women's geriatric ward of a hospital, right? And so it harnesses what's like brutally, absurdly funny about aging, and couples it with the prospect that these women might die at any moment, right? And so it's not a dark comedy in the sense that you feel deeply shitty and then something undercuts it with laughter. It's a through line from comedy to tragedy that is uninterrupted. It's a very strange tone. And so I said that to them, and then I said, if you guys need any internship help or stuff in the future. And so they ended up actually responding to that. And they responded because they had left their 9-year deal at HBO 2 weeks earlier. And later I found out that, that Will, who was the one who responded, said, we were kind of adrift for the first time in our careers and questioning why we were even doing this. And we saw this message that reminded us why we were doing it, and then also reminded us to pay it forward. And so,
wow, that's beautiful.
That's a great story.
I mean, it was craziness, right? Because it all tracks back to this medical pilot weird, like it literally tracks back to picking something random on Netflix, and it changed the complete course of my life.
Having a bit of a buzz on.
Yeah, wine drunk.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And so, so it started this kind of 2-year long pen pal relationship with Will, where as I was getting internships and thinking about next steps after graduation, he would update me on what his life was like and where they were at and what they needed, and, and send me some drafts of stuff they were working on. And they offered, my senior year, I was going to fly out to LA for spring break and just kind of, check out LA and see if I liked it. And they offered to read a sample and then said that they would, kind of interview me. They didn't have work yet, but interview me for the future. And so I came out and I interviewed, and I was here with my girlfriend, with Tika, and they ended up, after the interview, I guess I didn't know how it went, but it went so well that they ended up inviting us over for dinner later that week before we left, and they cooked a meal for us for 5 hours, and we all just kind of like fell in love in this. It was really this crazy way where it's like sometimes you just have experiences where you're like, okay, like life is different now than it was yesterday, you know? And so, yeah, so that's kind of the story of the cold email. And then in the time since, what's interesting is that now that I have had the experiences I've had, now when I cold email people, I would say it's about a 50% response rate now, as opposed to like a 0.1% response rate. Like I emailed the show Party Down, which I love. I sent a LinkedIn message before I had my current job. I sent a LinkedIn message to one of the creators because I found him on LinkedIn, and I heard that they were doing a revival, and he said they didn't have work needed, but he responded to me within the day. And I emailed this guy who's a creator of Northern Exposure, which is one of my all-time favorite shows, to see if he'd be interested in meeting. And he said no, but he responded within the day. And so it's this kind of interesting thing where I think there's been a snowball effect a little bit.
So you would recommend cold? You were told don't do it, but
I was told don't do it. And what I learned is if you're going to cold email somebody, especially in the film world, if you're going to cold email somebody, be prepared for them to not respond to you, and don't take it personally if they don't respond to you, because it doesn't even mean they read your message. It means that they might have a protocol where they're told not to. But if you are going to choose to send cold emails, make sure that you are not just telling somebody why you're valuable, but telling somebody that you really understand what they do and what they're trying to do, because that's what most writers want, period, is to feel seen by people. I mean, that's why you pursue writing, is to feel seen by a large mass of people. So if you want to make sure that the people, like Mark and Will said, they get emails sometimes with people being like, read my horror script. And they're like, why would we read your horror script? This makes no sense, So I think that's my caveat with cold emailing, but I think to do it.
Were you, like, I have some contacts in my phone where I'm sometimes surprised with the email addresses some, quote unquote famous or more well-known people have. Were you sometimes surprised that Steven Spielberg's email address might as well be sspielberg@gmail.com?
I think that's totally true. I think that's the funny part, is like, you can just actually, a lot of times you can just guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we should take a little break. We're at a halftime, so we'll take a little break for the hopefully one day being able to put a HelloFresh sponsorship right
here
now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll reconvene in a minute or two.
I like having a roommate. It's better than living alone. In the morning, I make coffee, and I make a cup for you, 'cause you like coffee too.
Noah.
Huh?
Time to make a podcast. You're singing? Let's go. Ready?
I have a bruise there.
Oh, you have a little indentation from the glasses you fell asleep with on your face. I love you.
So, welcome back. That might have seemed a bit weird. It's actually a little nod to our favorite musician, MacDeMarcos.
Yeah, is that joke 7 years too late?
8 years actually.
Has it been
so
8
late
years?
that I did not get the reference.
You did,
but I also might be the wrong audience for it. I think at some point after like 2017, I just like, you know what I mean? I just stopped.
Stop MacDeMarcos?
Yeah, I just stopped. I just stopped listening to anything music related.
Yeah. Yeah, it's from 2, right?
It's from the album 2 by MacDeMarcos.
Together at the end.
Still together.
I think you
It's the
should
last
keep
little
it.
thing.
I think you got to commit,
Definitely, yeah. It's in case you don't know it, you can listen to it. It's pretty funny. MacDeMarco is recording and his girlfriend falls asleep while he's recording. So they have this like exchange where he's like, Kiki, wake up, like, let's go to bed. And then she's like, oh, I have a bruise there. And he's like, oh, you have a little indentation from the guy. Like, no, it's super funny. And then it just stops.
We spent 2 hours on that.
We spent 2 hours on that. It's so weird.
You nailed it.
Thanks.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you.
Wow.
So we were talking about cold calls.
Yeah, cold calls. I guess we had that. I would like to ask you, because you already talked a bit about it, about your play set in New York. The themes in your writing, is there like a specific message you want to get out there?
I think there used to be more. I think I used to feel like a lot of my writing was trying to make sense of like belief, like religious belief or spiritual belief or social belief, and like all the different ways that people struggle with it or try to bend it or whatever. Like, I think like the absurdity and also tragedy of like belief, I think, was a theme for a lot of my writing. And I think now a lot of what I'm feeling is that I'm listening more to my instinct in terms of what my tastes are and what I'm interested in, and then making sure that the theme fits with the gut instinct for the project. You know, if there's a world that I'm like, there's something weird about that world, even if it doesn't necessarily fit with the themes that I'm interested in, I feel like I've come to try and make sure that if I'm telling a story, that the story I'm telling is the best version of that story, and not that the story that I'm telling conforms with what I've been interested in the past, you know?
When did that change happen?
I think it was after I started doing actual work for Mark and Will.
Okay.
And kind of like seeing the rigor that they build stories with, the kind of like all the stuff that goes on behind the curtains, and the, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of hours of research that goes into it, and the moments that you're plucking out, and the fact that like, I guess what I started to realize is that there's a certain degree of ego in deciding that you want to make this world fit your own story, you know? And I think that my favorite makers, I think that when I think that something is really special, I think it's when you don't feel the ego in it necessarily, you know? I mean, that's what attracts me to TV, I think, is that more than film, and more than playwriting, more than prose, and more than visual art, it's like inextricably collaborative. You know, it's inextricably collaborative. So it's never just the product of one person's taste or like creativity. You know.
Do you have any personal advice for aspiring artists out there, where to start? Because you said you started pretty late with the writing. Do you have any advice? Is because like some people would just say like the best advice is just start doing it. Don't think too much, just do it. What would your advice be?
I think the one piece of advice is like learn the rules to break the rules, like learn the history first. I think like I have a tremendous amount of respect for history, and that doesn't mean you have to watch every movie that's ever been made about a certain thing, but it's like what it does mean is that I think I think understanding the origin of something can help you make your own stamp on it. And I think another thing is just like, you know, I think the biggest advice is just that you will not get anywhere if you haven't written a lot. Like the thing that's important ultimately is not even the connections that you make, because there are platforms where you can submit stuff for free and get feedback and get noticed. Like the most important thing is finding a unique voice inside of yourself to put on the page and I mean, that's for writing specifically, but I think that's true for anything. It's just like, don't worry about what other people are doing or what other people have done. Also, that it's not a race. You know, it's really not a race. That one of my favorite like movies of the past 15 years is the movie Nightcrawler, with Jake Gyllenhaal, and the guy that directed it was, I think, in his 50s, and it was his first movie that he ever directed.
That's wild.
And it's incredible. I mean, it's an incredible movie that he spent a lot of time on. And I think at a certain point, it doesn't matter if you haven't done it and you're in your 50s. I mean, some of the best, I'm pretty sure Claire Denis, who's one of my favorite directors of all time, I'm pretty sure she didn't start directing movies until she was in her 40s. I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that I would say is just like, it's not a race, it's kind of a marathon. And that the most important thing is just to like make sure that you're continuously refining your own taste.
Makes sense.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that's very nice advice. And you know, not to dox you, but you live in LA now. It's a big city.
Yeah.
I mean, you, after college, you moved across the country. How did that go? Just being like, I'm moving to LA, doing that thing.
Craziness. I mean, it was craziness. It was interesting because it was like, you know, we had this connection with Mark and Will, and we were like, this is where we have to be. And we moved out without, neither of us had jobs. Tika had an unpaid internship 2 days a week. And so we moved out, and we didn't really know that many people. And we didn't actually even see or really hear from Mark and Will for the first 3 months we were out there. I mean, we were like sleeping on an air mattress while we waited for stuff to get shipped across I mean, it was really apocalyptic in a lot of ways. It was like,
very frugal.
It was like this squeaky air mattress. We didn't have furniture. It was just like, we were like, what are we doing here? And I think the first year was really hard. I had 8 jobs in the first 2 months because I just kept getting and quitting service jobs. And then at some point, I think over the past year and a half, it has started to feel a lot easier. The thing about it is like, it was interesting. It was the first 3 months, I think there was a lot of like, what am I doing here? And then I went to a screening for this movie, The Mountain, with Jeff Goldblum. And there was a Q&A. I went to the screening, and in front of me, I recognized Sean Baker, who's the director who did Tangerine, the Florida Project, and Red Rocket, which is coming out. And behind me, there was somebody else I recognized. And then the guy who sat next to me was like the star of one of the movies that the company I interned for had made. And it was like something clicked in my head, like, oh, that's why I'm here.
That's why you're there.
I'm here because everybody's here. And because the opportunities here, even if they're sometimes tough to come by, are so much more overflowing than if you like try to be a filmmaker in Kansas, which is possible, but just like you have to do your own thing. You know, there's a lot of support here. So it was hard at first, and I think it became easier. And now I do look at it as like one of the best decisions I've ever made, probably. You know,
I mean, it's a beautiful city. Good weather.
It is.
Very good weather.
Good weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you're a great host. Thank you for hosting me.
Come back anytime. Either one of you.
Oh, thanks. I will definitely take you up on that offer.
Noah's been dying to go to the U.S.
I've been dying for a long time. Last time I've been is way too long ago. But I want to ask you something about bad and good movies. Like, I remember recently I watched a show on Apple. What is it called? Apple Plus?
Whatever the hell it's
Whatever it is. It was like the morning show. Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston were starring roles. And it was kind of funny because Noah and I watched it a bit together in Italy. And there was like a scene, and the writing was just so weird because it was like Jennifer Aniston was getting a divorce from her husband on the show. and she was talking to her daughter, and the daughter made the weirdest arguments in favor of the father, being like, but he's so handsome. He has such a great, stable job. He's a professor. And we were just like sitting there laughing about the absurdity of the arguments of the daughter. Like, no daughter would be like, but dad's so pretty, but he's so wealthy. He's such a great job. Does that happen to you sometimes where you watch TV shows and you're like, oh God, the writing, what's going on there?
Oh, constantly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think that that's a product of a lot of things in TV, which is that there's so many levels of stuff that it has to go through. There's the writer's room, and then there's the producers. And sometimes, like with the morning show, the producers are the stars. And so they have ideas about how they want the character to come across or how they want the story to be portrayed. And then it'll go from the producers to the studio, which in this case is Apple, and they'll give feedback about this isn't clear, this is clear, and then they'll do focus testing maybe if they're nervous about how it's going to do. So they'll pull a bunch of randos from all over the country and say, here's a pilot for the show, do you like this? And if they say, no, I don't get why she's divorcing him, then they'll come back and say, hey, you got to make it really clear why she's divorcing him, because right now it seems like he's handsome, he has a stable job, whatever. And then it'll go back to the writer's room and they'll say, oh, okay, well, I guess if we want people to know why, then we can have somebody just say that, and then she can say, no. I get that, but here's why I'm divorcing. So I think that like the way that the pipeline of like how a show gets made is just, it's complicated, and I think that's why in TV you can get a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. That doesn't always happen in movies. It sometimes happens in studio movies, but it doesn't always happen with independent movies in the same way, you know?
Yeah, that's and are there independent TV shows?
No, that's the thing about it. There's no such thing as an independent TV show because they all are shown on a network. So even if, like, something like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was released, it was made independently. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Party Down. They shot the pilot independently and then tried to use that as a proof of concept to get the show ordered. But once a show is being bankrolled and made, there's always a studio attached or a network attached to it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like most people don't realize the entire process of getting it out and how long of a process that is.
I mean, that was the interesting thing when I started this new job, is, you know, I came into it and feeling like, you know, I would say I have a relatively good sense of story, and I can do this, and I can figure out what is most interesting to me. But what I didn't account for is that, like, when you're working for a company like Amazon that has their own distinct perspective and their own target of what they're trying to produce, basically what the job becomes is triangulating between what I'm interested in, what my boss is interested in, and what they'll make. Mm-hmm. And that is sometimes it feels impossible, you know, to do all those things at the same time. That's, I think, why it's so hard to do this work professionally, is because I think there's so many people who have their own sense of what needs to happen, you know?
Yeah, I guess on the note of good and bad writing, do you have any people that you're really inspired by?
Definitely. I think on the movie side, you know, I think there are individual shows or things that are really inspiring, more than even necessarily people, but like Elaine May, I'm really inspired by Elaine May and Mike Nichols, and, you know, they did Nichols and May, they were a comedy duo, and then Mike Nichols, and they both went on to direct stuff, and Mike Nichols directed more, but I think Elaine May, she only directed, I think, 4 movies, but they're incredible. Mikey and Nikki is one that's like a landmark for me. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but it's really one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. And it's like this kind of weird buddy gangster movie with Peter Falk and John Cassavetes, and like it's simultaneously like one of the sweetest relationships, but it's also they're like the worst people, and then it's brutal and it curdles, and it's just like it's insane. And on the TV side, I think like David Milch, who did Deadwood and NYPD Blue. Deadwood is like for me the crown jewel, but there's a lot of shows that right now I'm rewatching Girls. I think we gotta uncancel Lena Dunham because she's like incredible, and that show's actually so good. I forgot how good it was. And I'm watching Desperate Housewives right now for the first time in 10 years. There's always a bunch of stuff, there's always a bunch of stuff that's in my brain. I recently watched Roseanne. I'm kind of like on that kick. I feel like they're all really in the same world, Roseanne, Desperate Housewives, and Girls, but they're all great. So, there's a lot. I think, people who manage to do things that look distinct and that have distinct worlds, I'm always really game for. I don't like when it starts to look like a Target ad. That feels really depressing to me.
Have you ever seen the greatest worst movie of all times, The Room by Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah, of course.
Wait,
I think we watched it together.
Yeah, we watched it together.
Yeah, we watched
actually.
it together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another great example for weird writing, where it's just like so obvious that the person who produced it, wrote it, and starred it just had a very weird way of doing it.
Well, and that's the thing is like I would actually argue that it's good. It's a good movie because I think that it exists in a world completely on its own, and it's not like a Target ad. There's nothing more depressing to me than watching something that is coherent but surface and terrible. Like when something is incoherent, I'm like, literally there's no one in the world except for him who could have done that. And I feel like in a lot of ways that's kind of what the mark of a great writer is. So I think The Room should have I think it shouldn't be categorized as a great bad movie. I think it should just be categorized as a great movie.
It is. And Tommy Wiseau is doing in-person screenings again in LA this month. I gotta
go.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta network. Say hi from 2Noahs. And it's a lot of fun to follow him on Instagram. Like his Instagram is all over the place. It's very, very.
He should sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He has his own pants, but they have a mystery pocket. So whatever that means. But he sometimes puts ads on Instagram. My pants with mystery pocket. Tell your friends and family.
Should we move into the final segment?
Yeah, we have prepared some.
We have a little segment because I know you have a hard cut.
I gotta go.
It's quick. It's actually called Rapid Fire Questions.
Okay.
Super exciting.
It's questions, and you answer as fast as you can.
Yeah.
You can take passes because they're a bit controversial. And the last time we recorded one episode prior to this, and it was a bit controversial, I thought.
Controversial.
So we're edgy, but not that edgy. You can pass.
Controversial.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's start. How is the water pressure where you live?
I just discovered today that it's adjustable, and so now it's good. I didn't think it was good, but now it's good.
Woo!
Do people play chess in the parks where you live?
Sometimes.
Do people drink mint tea out there in summer?
Yes.
Can you request a custom license plate for your car?
Theoretically.
Okay. How's the plumbing? Toilet paper in a bucket, or can you flush it down?
Oh, flush.
Woo.
You can flush anything down.
What's your favorite word?
Warble.
What's your least favorite word?
Quelch.
Tea or coffee?
Neither. Fuck off.
You're going to like the next one. Whiskey or vodka?
Neither. Fuck off.
Guns or no guns?
No guns.
Cool.
Trump or Putin? Just kidding.
Oh God.
Controversial. Do you drink tomato juice when traveling by plane?
Actually, 100% yes. I love it.
Cow or oat milk?
Oat milk.
Dusty or wet?
Ooh, dusty.
sand, or stone?
Stone.
Wow, amazing.
That's it.
That says a lot about you. I think that little rapid fire question says more about you than the 45 other minutes.
I honestly agree. I'm going to talk about this in therapy.
Yeah, please do.
Sand or stone?
Sand.
Why did I say stone? Okay.
Do you have any plugs? Anything that you'd like to say?
Not yet, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
There might be some in the future.
Awesome.
Waiting to hear. Thank you both.
Yeah,
Man, it was great to talk to you. It's really nice to get to know one of Noah's greatest friends out there.
I feel the same way, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, and a big thank you to HelloFresh. HelloFresh, making food at home easier your way.
Wow, that was really nice. It was nice to talk to him. Nice to finally meet the man behind the name David.
David's a great guy. We should talk about my great friend, Omba.
Yeah.
Very nice man. He gave us a gift card for HelloFresh, so we're on our way to the top.
It definitely feels like the first step into getting that HelloFresh endorsement.
Yes.
We're going to try it out now. We have the HelloFresh gift cards.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do it. We're going to get ourselves a HelloFresh box.
Mm-hmm.
I think they come in boxes.
Yes.
And we can talk about it on the show or not. Depends on HelloFresh's, what they make of it.
Yeah. So HelloFresh Germany, HelloFresh France, HelloFresh USA,
Belgium, Austria,
UK. Hit us up.
Sure.
World Tour 2022.
HelloFresh World Domination Tour.
Woo!
It's happening. We're trying it out. We'll let you know how it went. But definitely a big shout out and thanks to Umba for the HelloFresh cards. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we have great friends.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to having more of them on.
Yes.
We are currently looking for the next guests we want to have on the show. We're making arrangements. And yeah, we're currently looking into having every other week releasing an episode on Spotify. We'll probably have a few more episodes in December, and from January on we'll have an episode out every 2 weeks on Sundays, because we know after a long weekend of partying in Berlin or wherever you are, all you need to unwind is just a little, just 2Noahs talking to someone.
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's what you need.
Yeah, as you're cleaning the apartment.
Yeah, scrubbing the floors.
Yeah, just thinking like you're in on the conversation, but you're not. You can talk back, but we won't hear you. Yeah. I definitely like to listen to podcasts while I scrub the shower, which is weird because the shower, I think it's a bit from New Girl. Like, why should I clean the shower? The shower cleans me. Yeah.
Why should I clean the towel? The towel dries me.
We're so New Girls.
Yeah,
we've now mentioned this twice.
New Girl.
Well, this will be the first time, but they will hear it later on.
There's another New Girl reference in the podcast.
Oh, God. But yeah, thank you for listening to our first podcast.
Yeah.
You have a little closing bit, Noah?
Of course
That's not scripted.
It's not scripted. This is not the paper that it's written on. There we go. That's it for now. Thanks for tuning in, which is not a thing on podcasts because they're on the internet. There's no fine-tuning in the frequencies. Of course, we would like to know how you felt about the podcast. You can write us on Instagram, 2Noahs. Shoot us a DM, and we will read it and might get in touch with ourselves. We hope you had an okay time, maybe even a chuckle or two. If you want to be on the podcast or you have an interesting friend who'd like to be on the show, you can also just send us a message on the Instagram account, because we're always looking for new people to just talk to. Our hashtag is 2Noahs, and in the meantime, we are trying to figure out how hashtags work.
Yep.
Because we don't have Twitter.
If I just yell it? I think the other companies have started doing the hashtags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other companies. Keeping it vague here. So, yeah. From 2Noahs, stay safe, stay warm and healthy, and hear you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Or you hear us soon. We won't hear you.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, bye.